Wait, just wait. I've got to get my eyeglasses cleaned. Why do I leave this until the last 15 seconds of that song to go looking for a napkin? Found one. Ah, there you are. Okay, good. How's everybody doing today? It's Thursday. 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. Probably later than that wherever you are. And it's the beginning of bug month. For the next month, 4 weeks, we're going to be talking about bugs and talking about photographing bugs and preparing bugs and buying bugs. And today we're going to start out looking at some bugs and do some actual work today. I'm also going to be taking requests because this is not a course. What's coming up this next month is not a course. It doesn't make any sense for me to do that because one of these days I'm going to get around to making a course and actually selling it. So I've already said everything that I would say, but yeah, you've got to go find it. So this isn't an actual course. It's not organized like that. We don't go from one topic to the next in order. But I want to cover all the things that you're most interested in, that you think you could use. And I'm going to fix that glary light back there right now. That is better, isn't it? And look what's over my shoulder there. That looks like an Optilux, doesn't it? An Optilux Solace? I think it might be. Sound and vision are good, says Alistair. That's excellent. I'm glad. Alistair, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing and tell me whether the sound and vision is any good kind of now. Can you hear anything I'm saying now? No, it appears that probably you can't. Or can you? Yes, you can. Tell me that that's good because that's where we're going to be working today, is over on the microscope. So if you can hear that, give me a thumbs up. Excellent. Alrighty, back to me. So I'll look forward to hearing whether or not that actually came through because that has been a mess getting it sorted out, but I think it's working now. But anyway, we're going to be over at the microscope this afternoon. I'm going to show you a couple of tricks on how to get butterflies ready to photograph. We'll miss the bit about dispatching them. We won't talk about that, but we'll do everything else. And a little muffled on the sound. Yeah, that is this other microphone that I'm not crazy about. It's the best option for when I'm over there. So we'll try it, and I'll try to speak clearly for a change. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of things related to bugs, and already I've been asked to summarize a lot of the things that we kind of gloss over. Chemicals, for example, the chemicals I'm using, cleaning techniques, cleaning equipment, all of the details that we don't often dig into at the time. We're going to go over all that stuff. So if you have topics that you can describe in 3 words or less, tell Alistair, tell Amy, tell Bud, and they'll put them together and give them to me at the end, and I'll start sifting through them and trying to group them together into shows. We have 9 live streams between now and the end of the month. We also have 1 competition, probably 3 or possibly 4 videos, and 2 Pazooms. So there's lots of bug time this month, and I want to make sure you get the absolute most out of it. If you are new to macro photography, or if you are new to this channel, you will get preference when it comes to requests. So be sure to tell the guys that you're new to the group, and they'll make sure that your requests get moved to the top of the list. That is because, of course, we want to make sure that if you're new to the group, you catch up with the group as soon as you can. So we'll pay attention to what you want to hear about. Okay, so good. There is a crystal competition that just got finished. I don't know if you know this, but 2 nights ago, or a night and a half ago, something like that, at midnight, the competition on crystals was over. And I have not looked at the entries, but I will be at 3 o'clock today. And at 6 o'clock today, I will be joined by 2 VIPs so that we can judge this competition. And I thought I'd take just a couple of minutes to tell you how the judging is going to be done It will be live, and I will repeat this on the video, but in case you are an entrant and you want to be reassured that it's going to be done right, this is how we're doing it. My guest judges are Lauren and Joseph Walls. That is not a coincidence. That is not just three random Wallses bumped into one another. These are my offspring, two of my three offspring actually, and they are extremely thoughtful and good judges. They helped me a few months ago on a competition, and I was really blown away by how insightful they were and helpful. So they asked if they could do it again, and I thought, you know what, we ought to do it again, and this time I want to get them on the video. So we'll be doing it live recorded. So we will be live, and the recording will be released as soon as I get it put together afterwards. And what we're going to do is this: each of the three of us is going to go through all of the entries, however many there are, and we are going to group them into two groups. There will be the groups that are not in the top 10 and the group that is in the top 10. Got it? You can't be both in the top 10 and not in the top 10, so there'll be the two groups. Now, both Joseph and Lauren and I may end up with different top 10s. So whatever the total number of top 10s is, whether that be 10, which would be the minimum if we all pick the same, or 30, which would be the maximum if none of us pick the same, we'll end up with X number of finalists between 10 and 30. Are you following so far? Are you taking notes? There will be questions on this. So when we assign our top 10, we have to put them in order, in our order of merit. And we do so using a numeric score that we're all using, the same system. Okay, so we score them and then pick our top 10 and look at the scores to determine the order in which they fall. Right, you following now? Okay, good. When we get to the end, I'm going to add up the scores for all of the pictures. And it is the picture with the cumulative, no, it's not. It's not the picture with the cumulative greatest number of points. It is going to be the added up points divided by 3, and the reason we do that is in case somebody is picked to be in the top 10 for 2 of the judges but not the third. So what we'll do is we'll take the average of the number of people whose top 10 it was in. Does that make any sense? If you're in all 3, you get the average of all 3 points. If only 2 of us put you in the top 10, then you get 1/2 of your total points. If only one of us picked you, you know what that is? You get all, yeah, you get your points, not divided by anything. It's very complicated. Anyway, listen, it will be fair, and I'll explain it again as soon as I figure out exactly what we're doing with it. And the winner will be announced at the end of the video tonight. And the prize is a gift of incalculable value. It's something that we would rarely even contemplate giving away, but it's the most precious commodity this channel has. It's my time. The winner will get 2 hours of my time. I'm going to regret saying this, but it's whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to study, learn about, if you just want to chit-chat, it's up to you. You can do it in 4 half-hour sessions, not recommended, or you can just take 2 hours of my time and we'll go fishing or go take pictures. Whatever you want to do. The winner, that's your prize. Yeah, I'm going to see how that works. It worked well last year when we did it, but I've run out of things to give away except for the clamps, and I'll get to that later on. That's another story. Okay, are we good on the competition? I hope so. There's no presume this weekend. Have I mentioned that? Okay, there is no presume. So you're free this weekend to go do whatever you want. I'm going to go take pictures if the weather is nice and look for slime molds. Lastly, there are some things that I think you should be spending your money on, and I am going to tell you about them very briefly. The first is from Harbor Freight. It's a cheap hardware store that I frequent because I like their stuff. A lot of it's junk, but it's good junk, and some of their other stuff is quite good. This was quite a find right here. look at the size of these drill bits. Even dentists have bigger drill bits than this. These come in a pack of, I guess it's about 20 different sizes, but they're all teensy weensy, and they'll go on a drill. I don't know, I'll probably get another Dremel, a smaller Dremel to use them on. But if you saw that video on building a cyborg motorized beetle, you'd need these, and that's why I got them. When I saw them, I thought, you know, I'll never be able to drill out the head of a beetle without a drill like that. So there you go. If that's too rarefied for you and you want something a little more basic, here's some diamonds. They sell diamonds too at that shop, Harbor Freight. Diamond pointy things that also go in the Dremel. That's quite a selection of diamond things for etching and what have you. You don't buy them if you don't know what they're for, like I did. Just yeah, if you know what they're for, then go buy them. Next thing, it's kind of tied into what we're doing today. It's butterfly wings. Have you ever thought about that? What happens if you're a butterfly selling shop and something bad happens? There's a cold snap or something, and your butterfly's wings fall off. You're not going to throw them away, are you? No. You'll clean them up, you'll put them in an envelope, and you'll sell them to some Englishman who happens by your website. That's what I did with a company called Moss and something else. I should look that up. I think I threw it in the rubbish bin. I'll find it, or it'll occur to me. Moss and something. They're on Etsy, ETSY, the website, and I'll put a link over in the program notes and where all the other links are, which is over on my website. You want to know where that is? www.alanwallsphotography.com/blog, because it's a blog, /VITC, vitamin C, VITC. Okay, go over there, the link will be there. So this Englishman, me, thought, you know what, that's really what you want to photograph when you photograph a butterfly, and these are sold for people to make earrings out of. I don't want to make earrings out of them, but I thought they'd be wonderful to look at under the microscope. So I ordered a packet of 6 pairs of wings. So it's 12 wings, and it was ridiculously inexpensive. It came out to about $1 a wing, I think, plus a bit of shipping, and it arrived in this gorgeous little cardboard box with a ribbon around it and some padding in the box. It was very well packed and puffy stuff on the inside. When I opened it up, not only did it have 6 pairs of wings, it had some really, really nice wings. And I don't just say that, because I'm going to be working with some of them today. There were, I think these are cabbage whites. The only thing is they don't label them, so you have to go look them up, and I haven't had a chance to do that. This is a wing I'm not familiar with, incredibly delicate, but absolutely gorgeous. Isn't that pretty? At first I thought it was a Morpheo, because they have a golden variety of that, but I didn't think they'd be putting that in a grab bag of wings, but you never know. But anyway, they're all lovely. They're small, but they're perfect, and the price is just perfect for a photographer who likes to photograph wings. There was a swallowtail. This is one of the most gorgeous wings I've seen. I don't know, again, what butterfly this is. It's a papilio of some kind, I feel certain. I probably shouldn't be manhandling these, but I do want you to see them. Look at that beauty. The other side's even prettier. Isn't that lovely? Anyway, I was thinking, oh, this was a really good deal. This was a really good deal, and I'd gone. That's the first 3, and I loved all of them. Then the the next one was like this, and I was thinking, oh, I really made out like a bandit on this. There's the other one. This looks like the hind wing of a papilio. But I was thinking, oh, this is fantastic. I'm so happy with my selection. Then I saw the last two envelopes, and I'm not going to remember the name of this first one, but it's a butterfly I'm familiar with and I photographed before, and it is absolutely breathtaking. It's a I can't remember. It'll come to me. It's related to the no, I'm not gonna remember it, so I'll just stop trying. But we're going to be looking at this in a minute. I'm going to leave one of these out because that's going to be what we'll be talking about today. It's too bad I didn't. I might remember. If anybody knows, it's a viridescent green and blue stripe that changes color as you look at it in different ways. And so I was thinking this was a great deal. I need to tell the guys about this because you may want to order some of these wings from Moss and somebody on Etsy. And then I saw the last envelope, and I didn't even have you didn't have to have X-ray vision to know what I had got in the last envelope. And yeah, it is probably my favorite butterfly wing of all time. It's an absolutely pristine sunset moth from Madagascar. If you have never seen the scales on a sunset moth from Madagascar, you have not lived, and it's something that you probably need to order, because the next thing I'm going to show you need to spend your money on is a whole one of those butterflies, because they're not just glorious in the wing area, they're also just the most breathtakingly attractive insect. Hard to describe how pretty this is until you actually see one up close and personal. They literally have every color of the rainbow in their scales at different parts, and just a dozen different kinds of scales. And we'll take a quick look at this. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture of this because I photographed it as part of my testing for the Solace, the lighting system from Optilux. But I do want to show you one of the pictures that I particularly liked, if I can find it. Yes, I can. So I'll show you first a picture of the butterfly, just as a reference. It's this baby right here, and you can see I think a little better here that you've got all of these different colors, but it doesn't do it justice like under the microscope does. There's one color that occurs only in this band right here, very strange little band where the scales look like this. They're gorgeous. They're blue and slate colored and striped. This is not a good picture, but it was the best I could come up with on the spur of the moment. But on this part of the wing, let me show you. This area here and this area here, and also to a lesser extent this one and right up here, you get a transition where the scales go from one color to the next, and they do it with this profusion of color in these patches of scales. And I want to show you one of them. That's actually a crystal. I was photographing crystals. That's the one we've just been looking at. If I have lost this picture, there it is. No, that's not it. I've got a better one than that. Well, we'll leave it at that. But that's the scales that this moth has all over it, and those transition zones have these most colorful ones of all. Absolutely glorious. I could not recommend more strongly that you get yourself one of these moths and just experience what it's like to look at it and photograph it. They're so wonderful. And this is the winner of the competition tonight. This is my picture. It's not the winner. I'm only kidding. I didn't enter a picture, but I just love these crystals. I had so much fun with them. It's going to be a shame to walk away from them for a while, but there you go. So that's a vitamin C crystal, an unusual one. All right, so that was all I had to show you about the butterflies and the things to spend your money on. There are two other things that you could be spending your money on. Number one is me. You could spend your money on me, most appreciated, and you can do it through Patreon, or you can just do it any way you want. Mail it to me if you need, or send a truck. But the last thing I would say to spend your money on, but only if you have quite a bit of it, would be buy yourself an Optilux Solace, because it is an incredible lighting system. It's a continuous lighting system that uses the next generation of light conduit that is reminiscent of fiber optics, but it's much better. It's fluid-filled cables. They call it, what do they call it? Fluid-filled guides, FFGs, and they're used quite a bit, but they're expensive. They need special collimators, devices to take the light from the light source and put it in the right kind of orientation for the cable. And then you need lenses on the end of the cable to focus it down a little bit. All said, that's a lot of technology, and the LED is a single LED that is designed for this machine. And it's a work of art. It's a beautiful piece of German-engineered semiconductor that is exclusively made for this thing. It's the purest white light I've ever seen, and it comes in a wonderful package. I'll talk all about it in the video. The video is finished. I just need to edit it, and then it'll be released. But I'm going to use it tonight because I got permission from Johannes Rusch, the owner of the company, to use it during a live stream, which I thought was a great idea. So I could show you. We need it tonight for me to show you what I'm going to show you. But that's why it's behind me and turned on. We're going to be using one of the pieces of equipment, one of the sets, though it's not really a set, one of the end pieces that it comes with, called the Focus. There are 3 of them. There's a mono with just 1 light cable and a lens. Then there's the trio with 3 light cables, which is my favorite and the one that I use most of the time. And then there's the Focus, which is a very specialized piece of equipment that is full of Japanese optics that focuses your light, a lot of light, by the way, 160,000 lux of light, focuses it down to a 1 millimeter to 12 millimeter spot. That is a tiny spot of light. And yeah, I talk in the video about what you'd use that for and what it would add to photography and so on. But it is a very exciting technology. I've really enjoyed using it, and I'm getting so comfortable with it now. When I need some continuous light, it's what I reach for. So I'm going to be using it tonight to show you a very specific technique for not only selecting the best part of a butterfly wing to photograph, but selecting the angle at which to photograph it and how to light it, because they are the important things. If you don't go into the studio with a clear understanding of how you want to photograph this butterfly wing, you're going to get a mediocre picture, I guarantee you. Every stunning photograph you've ever seen of the scales on a butterfly's wing has been taken by thinking through the angles of light, where you're blocking light from hitting, what kind of reflection you're using, what kind of secondary lighting, fill lighting, and all of these things have been addressed and answered. And I'm going to show you tonight how I go about examining a wing with that in mind. How do I decide on my framing, my composition, my lighting, my camera settings, and it'll all be done under the microscope because that's where I do it all. Fair enough? I'm going to just have a quick peek at the chit-chat machine and see if anybody has anything they want me to address. Oh, that's not the right machine. I need the Telegram machine. Nick has a question, when it's convenient. Is bouncing light off pieces of artboard and then through diffuser around the subject still the way to go? It is a way to go. Absolutely, and a lot of the times early on in the life of the channel 5 years ago, I was operating my entire macro studio off one working speed light and one broken one. So I was trying to get as much light spread out and do what I do now with MF12s with very limited resources, and I was using a lot of small reflector cards, bounce cards, to bounce diffused light onto my subject from different angles. You can absolutely still do that. That's how I did it for years, for 10 years. I didn't have a rail or anything during that time, and all of it was done like that. As I've been able to add equipment and now have a dozen MF12s to scatter around as I need, that has not been necessary, but I absolutely could do it and will do it if I have to, certainly. So yeah, it is. You use what you have at hand. You use what you can, what you have, and what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable using a piece of equipment, then of course you don't use it. Period. But or you learn how to use it and then use it. But if you're comfortable with something, you're better off using the wrong thing well than you are using the right thing poorly. I just made that up, but it sounds like an aphorism, doesn't it? Or something like that. Anyway, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a wing at random. I'll pick this one. And we'll look at it under the microscope, and I'll talk you through the process. Hopefully we will have a fairly seamless experience doing this. That would be a first, I know, but you never can tell. Just so as you know what we're looking at here, the picture on the right of your screen is just a view across the front of the camera, so you can see what I'm doing with my hands, should that become necessary. And then the picture, of course, on the left is through the microscope. And I'm going to head over there. You should be able to hear me, though apparently a little bit muffled. Maybe I could turn it up just a hair and see if that's any better. Okay, so I'm going to assume you can hear me. It's Moss and Monarch. Thank you, Alistair. That is the correct name of the company, and they were very nice. But I also need to tell you the name of the company that the whole butterfly came from. They're a very small operation. I think it's just a young couple that run it. They have a very limited selection of butterflies and insects, but what they have is fantastic, and their service is absolutely exemplary. I thoroughly enjoyed dealing with them and have written a recommendation for them on the basis of that. And their name is the Caterpillar Company. No, it's not. It's the Little Caterpillar. The Little Caterpillar. I told a friend of mine this morning it was called the Little Butterfly, and he couldn't find it. Not surprised. It's the Little Caterpillar. Okay, so let's take this, Eurydia, something like that is the name of this butterfly. We're going to take him over to the microscope, and let's get him set up. Now, what I use is a little turntable that hopefully you can see here. It is, the key thing about it is it's got a fairly sturdy base, but it turns, as turntables have a want to do. There's a reason for this, and you'll see why in a little bit. Now, I used to use this sewing light as my main light for what I'm getting ready to show you. I can still use it if I need to, and I will when the Optilux goes back, but the Optilux Solace is a much better tool for this. What I'm doing is I focused a beam of light right onto the area that we'll be looking through the microscope at, and we're going to examine this wing, and I'm going to talk about what we're looking at. So I'm going to first of all just put it on a clean glass or acrylic disc. Now, it's fairly important that you use something transparent because you want the light to behave like it will when this wing is on the stage being photographed. So, oh look, a bottle of iron brew. This is the national drink of Scotland. It's supposed to be orange because it's coloured from the rust on girders, is what they say. You know, steel girders. So let's see, can you see anything? Yeah, it looks like probably you can. Yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all. So the light, as you can see, makes a fairly subtle but real impact. I do have light from above. When I'm doing this, I'll usually turn that light off, but I think it might be a bit on the dark side. It is. Let me try making my beam a little bigger. That helped. Let me try moving the solace in a little closer. That's the wrong thing I untightened. What we're going to do is this. There are questions that I have to answer. Whereabouts on this wing are the most attractive scales? And how am I going to define those scales as attractive? And that's what we're going to talk about, is how I pick the best scales and what angle they're best to shoot them at. It is best to shoot them from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the other side of the wing. I start on the B side usually, saving the best side for last. This is a little less colorful, but it has more colors, if that makes any sense. It has more variety. Let me make sure I'm getting the light right where I want it. That's better. Okay, so the way I would do this, and actually I'm going to end up confusing myself if I don't do it the way I always do. I put the light coming from the front. So I shine it coming from right out my nose, basically, and across the wing. This is important because the direction of light when you're photographing scales is what it's all about. Now, this is us at low power, and I orient my wing so that it is going from the body, where the body was, right there, to the end, is oriented down the axis of my nose. So I am looking down the length of the wing. This is important because you're going to use that as a reference for setting up the shot when you get back to the studio. So first of all, I look at the wing to just get a broad idea of whether or not I need to do any cleaning. Cleaning is 90% done with air and static to get dust off. I seldom will use anything wet at all, and I try not to touch the wing. Touching the wing is simply going to pull scales off it, and or wrinkle and bend the ones that you have left. So my light, as you hopefully can see from the side, is coming down at a very shallow angle, probably not more than about 15 or 20 degrees. And you have to imagine now what this would look like if you were standing the wing up. If the wing were up on its edge, mounted for you to photograph, the light would be coming up from underneath, which is exactly where I position my light to shoot a butterfly wing. Underneath the stage coming up is the key light. So with that in place, what I will do is I will start at the root of the wing here, and I will go to higher magnification and start perusing the scales. Now to do that, I need more light. I don't know why all of a sudden my camera's turning off when I touch it, but that'll be fine there. I'm not looking through the microscope, so I don't have the benefit of seeing all of the detail that hopefully you can, and I will try to keep it. The reason I'm not looking through is I want it to be focused right for you at all times. So the first thing I look at is the other structures on the wing. Is it very hairy? If it is, I usually avoid the hairy parts. They're harder to photograph and they don't look as good. I may photograph them later on, but if I'm looking for one good shot, I'll usually avoid the hair. The other thing I'll do is I'll look for ridges, like three-dimensionality to the wing. Where I have these very deep crevasses or very high ridges from the veins, I'll usually avoid them too, because the stacks can get enormous when you're trying to photograph up and down the hill of a crease in the wing. But what I'll do is I will look at individual groups of scales, and what I'm looking for are the prettiest, most consistent, flattest maybe, most exemplary scales I can find. And when I find an area that I like the look of, and I've already kind of picked out a couple of areas on this wing that I particularly liked. We'll go to those in a second. Very hairy hair. This first portion is got a lot of hair. Some greener stuff here. But what I really liked was down here below the big band, and I'll zoom out to show you where we are. This is one time actually I might just use auto ISO. I'm not going to, but I could at a time like this to stop the blinkies. This is just, you'll see, this is just for getting our orientation. So in this band we have green and blue-green alternating and some nice bigger scales with no hair. So I'm thinking some of this might be good. But then I noticed that further down still there were patches where there were scales separated from the group, which is what I like to do, because I like to be able to see the individual scales not crowded up on one another, but separate. Now, the reason we have this thing on a turntable is when I find an interesting grouping, what I'm going to do is turn it through 360 degrees while observing it, while observing the same spot. My hand got in the way there, I apologize. So I'm turning it around and looking at what happens to the color. I'm looking at one particular group of scales, and that's important. When you come to the side, frequently they'll change color. They'll take on either a complementary color or a different shade of the same color, and often you'll see the color will split down the middle of the scale, where part of it's in shadow and part of it's not, and the whole color changes. Remember that the light is interacting with the micro anatomy of the wing, and much of this color that we're looking at is structural color. It's not actually pigment in tissues. So when you change the light, you effectively change the color. And you can see that these go from very bright green to flatter, silvery, gray, blue, then back through blue. And as you come around the corner again, they'll split colors. But we're rushing through this because I want to get to the other side of the wing where the money is. There's a lovely grouping right there. A little hot. I would of course shoot a couple of test shots under the microscope to see what it looked like, and then when I complete the circle, I'm all the way back with the root of the wing pointing at me, and I've seen all the scales that I'm interested in from all the different angles. Okay, another thing I look at, by the way, is the major veins. There are a couple right here. Let me see if I can, it's going to be hard to see my tweezers, I think. Well, there you can see them. This is one of the major veins. I think this is the anal vein. They often have very big scales on them, and they're quite interesting to photograph. Okay, let's flip this baby over and look at the side. This was the side that just really got me excited when I saw it. A lot more hair, so I'll start in exactly the same place at the root of the wing. Try to give you some more light, and you'll see the pair I'm talking about right along the, let me find it. There we go. There's the root, and there's the hair coming off in bundles. It's like a beard. All right, so already this wing has a strange arrangement of stripes right at the top. Let's try to kill some of that light too. You know what, I might, well, that's just reflected. There's nothing really I can do about that now. But anyway, the stripes there have big scales in them, and interestingly, if you look very close, you'll see that there are scattered blue scales mixed in. And this was exciting to see. I mean, not just blue-green, but actual blue scales. Sometimes they're easier to see with the naked eye. I don't know if you'll be able to see through the camera there. You can see these shiny spots of blue. Maybe you can't. It is a long way away. Oh, that reminds me. I was going to show you something cool that I did last night. Remind me at the end. It involves scales. So let me see. Where was I? We're looking at these little stripes. Very interesting. But as we come down the wing, we hit this gorgeous blob of very deeply colored and densely packed scales. Now, these are, in a couple of places, almost perfect in how flat and uniform they are. It's almost unnatural. Sorry, I'm trying to get the light to... I don't have a good HDMI connection. I probably should switch to auto ISO. Anyway, so we have some really lovely looking patches of scales in here. Now, I told you about avoiding shooting over bridges and valleys. There are several patches in here that are absolutely flat, and the flatness makes for a nice, you can half the step length and get really high resolution pictures when you have a flat basis. This was one of the flat areas with more scattered scales that I really liked the look of. But now we need to do what we did the first time and look at these as we turn them. So let me get them in better focus, and let me turn this wing around. I'll try to keep them in focus. This is a lot easier when you're using your eyes through the eyepieces. Okay, I really don't know why in the heck this thing keeps dropping my picture. It's never done that before. Okay, so we're turning and looking at the same patch and looking for well, I'll go a different patch as we go so that I only have two arms to use if the thing keeps going off the picture. So from the side, the abnormalities in the positioning of the scales, different heights of the scales or wrinkles or kinks in the scales show up much more obviously. You can see them in the center of the screen there. Wherever there's any, whenever there's any irregularity in the orientation of the scales, it becomes obvious from the side. Some of that just isn't really apparent from the top. So this is why it's important to stop here at the 90 degree mark and then start rotating again. The colors will change as you see, and I'm going to show you a better color change in just a minute down at the bottom of this wing. But all the while you're looking for the perfect spot and how you want to orient your camera and your light. When I see a spot that I like and think that it might be better at an angle, I can just pick up my turntable and rack the focus up and down through it to see what it would look like from a different angle. So you can get a very good feel for what your picture is going to look like. So let's get it back to where we were and head down to well, we'll finish our circle first. I think that you'll see a pretty profound change in the color as we come around here. They go from blue-green to almost brown gold. You know, I could see the colors so much better through the scope. This is one time where you're gonna, no matter how good your microscope is, you're gonna wish you had one that was just a little bit better when you look at these, because there's so much detail to enjoy. Okay, so going full circle on that, I didn't see anything that would change my mind, but what I actually ended up seeing was down at the bottom a couple of patches of really, really pretty scales. I'll show them to you. Let me see. First of all, at the edge of the wing, right here, look at the bizarre scales in there. They look like little bendy pitchforks. I'm going to raise the light up, give you a better look over there. Let's see, where are we? Yeah, that's a bit better. So you have these, let's make it a bit bigger. I just managed to point it off the subject. Let me do this. All right, I think that's going to give us a better look at it. I definitely don't have enough arms for this job. I think that you need to have extra arms. So let's get it in focus and see if you can see those scales. They're long, they have a slender waist and a pitchfork type arrangement at the end. Gorgeous little things. Let me tell you about that, that scale thing that I was going to mention, and then we'll come back to this to finish up what we're talking about. I'm going to have to move this guy off for just a second, but I had been working on this little turntable, looking at the sunset moth, and I noticed that the paper that it was in had scales all over it, or it had little bits of dirt, it looked like, little shiny bits of dirt. What it was scales, and I came up with a technique which is something that I'm quite sure that Rick would have come up with had I not. But I spread a little bit of Bondic, just a dot across the slide in a very, very thin layer, and then just dropped it on the piece of paper. And it's full of scales. So now I've got all these different scales that were just dropped off the wing onto the paper, and they're not wasted. I've got them in all different colors too. There was actually one of those blue ones that there are very few of on the wing, but one of them showed up on this. So there's a nifty technique. If you want to just not throw away extra scales, stick them to a slide with Bondic and then shine some UV light on it. There you go. This has probably got 1,000 scales on it, scattered all over. Yep. Anyway, it's a fun thing to do. Let's go back to it. You know what? I'm going to switch butterflies. I'm going to show you the sunset moth, so you can see why you absolutely need to have one of these. Only it appears to be lost. Now that would be a first, losing an animal's wing on the trip from my desk, which is behind me. There it is. Oh, thank goodness. I just dropped it on the desk. So we're going to put the probably the most gorgeous wing you'll ever see on here. This is probably not the very nicest one I've ever seen. I mean, the species. Oh, jeez, I dropped it. This is not like dropping the Optilux Solis, by the way. This kind of floats gradually to the ground and gets a bit of dust on it. The Optilux Solis would break something, or itself. Okay, I'm going to turn up a little bit of light so you can appreciate this. And yeah, just hold on to your horses, because this is quite a feast. I'm going to put some extra light on it from a different angle so you can see all the colors. There we go. I'll turn the ISO down a bit. So to say that, you know, this is every color under the rainbow represented is probably not an exaggeration. And the closer in you get, the more astonishing the colors become. My favorite is this area here where yellow turns to orange, turns to pink, and there are areas in here where the scales are orange with pink edges. Look at that. Have you ever? I'm recording that. That's just beautiful. And then the same thing here with the greens and the blues doing their transition. Then there are parts of the wing that have a green. And let me find it while I'm talking about it. They have some greeny blue scales. Right, that's nice, and they're pretty, and they look great. And that any one of these, any area of this would photograph well at any angle. But then you get into this one area next to it that's just so metallic. This happens a lot on this wing. On the other side in particular, you go from a color to a metallic version of that color that just, yeah, this is the one. I'm going to show you that transition zone too. But it's almost reddish purple. Look at that. Look at that. You know, I'm going to just end up rendered speechless here, and I won't be able to actually make sense talking, because this is just so beautiful. My goodness gracious me. And there are, I think, about 4 or 5 patches that have that transitional mixture of colors. There's one on this wing edge. Not quite as pretty as the other one, but let's just look at that at different angles. So we're using predominantly the light we're using here is coming from me. So from, I'll show you where that's, you can see where it's coming from. It's coming from the bottom of the screen. All right. So with that in place, when I turn the subject around, when we go to 90 degrees, see how it kind of gets messy looking? A little bit less regular and patterned, and the black brown gaps become more obvious, and the colors are less arresting. Comes back through another 90 degrees to shoot from the bottom. I think I just lost my there I was. No. Well, I think it was this one. Close enough. Back at the bottom, it's different now with the light coming from the direction that the scales are growing. In other words, right now our light is coming from the root of the scale as it comes up and goes across. That gives a very uniform look to the scale, and you get to see the microanatomy in the scale, the holes that they have in them. Whereas when you turn it through 180 degrees, you don't see that, but you tend to see this very exaggerated edge on the scales that I'm not crazy about. Let me see if I can find that patch again. It's a little hard to describe, but when you do this, when you look from the different angles, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. So they look more humped up and like bumps from the top or from the root end. When you're looking back at the full length of the scale from the outer part of the wing towards the root, they look more even, and they seem, the spacing looks more natural. But you know, what appeals to you, and what appeals to me may be completely different. But look at this area here. Blue, yellow to green, to gold, to blue, to pink, to orange, to red, all in a few microns. Absolutely breathtaking. If you don't spend $6 ordering yourself one of these butterflies from the little caterpillar place, you're crazy. That was not a good thing to say. You're missing an opportunity to be awestruck by just the overwhelming beauty of these structures here. This is one of those things that is a mysterious thing to me in nature, is understanding why some things are so much more beautiful to look at than they need to be for the function that they have. just you know, amusing that that crosses my mind is why this patch here. It seems like it was gratuitously put there to surprise and delight macro photographers. Yeah, no doubt about it. This is hands down my favorite species of butterfly to see. And I was telling Rick last night on our call that I've never owned or never had one of these butterflies in my possession to photograph. I just kind of resisted it because everybody else did it and thought they were the best. So I just, being a contrarian, I just never got one. So yeah, I felt foolish when I saw this a couple of days ago. It's just so amazing. The color is really obviously going to change as you rotate to the side on these. You get a kind of, the orangey yellow gets replaced by a pewter color in places. Very different shot, a lot less attractive in my opinion. And then back at end on, or 3/4 like this, you see the colors starting to come back. There's one particular color, it's the blue-gray. We'll go up there because that undergoes a really strange change. And then we're running out of time, so I have to get back and see if there's any questions or comments. So let me just quickly get to that blue-gray area. It's all the way up at the top here. Yeah, in here. These scales undergo a much more dramatic change in their color. They go to a kind of gunmetal, and the gold turns to silver. Let me see if I can find it. Your best bet is to spend $6 and buy one of these and just do it yourself. See how the ones on the right are starting to look more like a dull brushed aluminum type look to them. Well, eventually they'll go all the way like that. You know, that with the gold, all the different shades of gold in that triangular pattern there, that is nice. So what I'll do is I'll make a note of that. I know exactly where that is on the wing. It's on this top leading edge, and I'll easily be able to find that. I'll usually draw a little hand sketch on a card. That's why I keep cards up here, so I'll know exactly where it is. And when I get back to the back, I can mount it, which I'll do vertically. I have a piece of aluminum. It's an L-shaped piece, and I put a little pad on the front to hold a tack. I never put pins through the wings, but I will put a couple of these little pin heads basically on either side to hold it, and I'll hold it upright as flat as I can, and I'll go straight back to that area, and Bob's your uncle, even if he's not. So generally the scales get larger as you move out to the periphery, and they get weird at the very end though, when they're part of the swallowtail, for example. On some of these things there's some bizarre shaped, they look more like crystals than wing parts. I could spend literally half a day just looking at one of these wings, going from area to area and enjoying the show. Let's get back over to the other side and see what's going on over there. Well, hopefully you were able to see some of that. I do hope so. It would be a bad sign if at the beginning of bug month you couldn't see that. But if somebody would give me leave a note if there was anything that you'd have done differently. I see it is fairly dark, but hopefully you could see most of it. Question for Alan. What do you find more comfortable when you want to light a specimen in very tight space? Godox MF12 or a fiber optic flash? I am not a big fan of fiber optics. The reason fiber optics I think are terribly hard to use is they are the opposite of what we want in a light. You know, generally speaking, when we're lighting macro subjects, we want the light to appear to the bug to be huge, soft, and very far away. That will give you the evenest, best looking light. Fiber optics put the hottest, smallest, brightest spot of light close to the subject. It is exactly the recipe for specular highlights, and it's something that you usually don't want. This system allows me to position the light much more closely without having that problem, and I can with a little diffusion I can get rid of it. But the answer to your question is this: getting light in tight spaces is what I do. That is what macro photography is all about. It's the main thing, and I have learned how to do it well with MF12s, with tiny flashes, or R1C1 SP200s, Nikon flashes. It's my comfort level. If I had just had to get a good picture, and you were only giving me 5mm of working space, I would ask for 3 MF12s, and I'd get the light in there by turning them sideways. And you've got to be careful. Higher magnification, your objectives are going to be gathering light from a much larger cone, and you'll get a lot of internal reflections and that kind of stuff. So you've got to be careful with that. It's not, if this question sounds like I'm not answering your question, it's because it's like I'd have to tell you everything I know about macro photography for it to make complete sense. But the short version is you use what you're most comfortable with. If you're really, really good with fiber optics and can use it without getting specular highlights, then go for it. But otherwise, I think flash is easier to control. I know flash is easier for me to control. Okay, let's see. What else is there? Good. Oh, Patrick, super chatted. Thank you, Patrick. That's very kind of you. In fact, I was going to head out. I've got to go try to get my air conditioner fixed today in the car. That will come in mighty handy, mighty handy. It is hot down here when you add the heat of my engine to the already sweltering heat. Yeah, it's miserable, and I've got to get it fixed because I can't go out during the day, and I'm becoming a hermit otherwise. All right, so we are out of time. Bug month has started, and we just spent most of an hour talking about bugs. I hope that was helpful. That's the kind of stuff I want to do. So if you guys will let me know what you want to hear, what you want to see, doesn't matter what it is. I mean, just tell us, and you'll probably hit on something I've never done before, and then I'll definitely get excited about it. And yeah, this is good. So the goal, of course, of this month is to get Joseph interested in insect photography. That is the main thrust of the whole thing. So if you would hound him throughout every live stream to go buy himself a butterfly and get him looking at it, I think we've got a chance. So Joseph, that's our challenge. All right, thank you everybody for coming. Let's see. Who am I going to pick out to say hi to? Obviously Patrick. Thank you, Patrick, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Aren't we talking today? Is it today or is it tomorrow? I can't remember. I'd better remember, hadn't I? Because it's a phone... No, yeah, all right, I'll figure it out. I hope it's tomorrow. Yeah, because I'm getting ready to do the competition now. Anyway, you didn't need to hear that, did you? All right, guys, I will see you on Tuesday. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it will involve bugs. That much, I promise you. So next week, Tuesday, and again Thursday, live streams, Macro Talk and Macro Talk 2, all about bugs. If you have any requests that come up in the meantime, send them over to me on the Walls app, and you can be on the lookout for the results of the photo competition for last month in the next couple of days. The Octolux video is going to be delayed until next week. I have simply run out of time to get it edited, and I've added a lot of footage, so that is going to be a little bit delayed. Anything else? Nope, I think that's everything. So thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting me if you do. Thank you for thinking about supporting me if you don't. Or I guess thank you anyway, regardless of whether you thought about it or not. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you come back. And I will see you guys in a few days. Lovely mineral sample, fossilized ammonite. It's not starting out well, Joseph. You should be saying nice butterfly. That was a butterfly that we looked at, an insect. All right, guys. See you, Arthur. See you, Nick. See you, Joseph. KJDH. Have we met? Welcome if you're new. The thing is with these names, people make up names and it's somebody I already know, and then it's weird because I introduce myself to them again. Who else? Who did I not say hi to? Let's see how many I can get through before they cut me off. Micromaniac from Seattle, greetings. Crispy B, what's up, my man? Lovely. Yeah, giving advice on tube lenses, I like that. That's a good thing to talk about. Krezelek Factory? Question. Oh, that was your question I was answering earlier, and I butchered your name. Sorry about that. Let me see. Kees is here. What's up? From the Netherlands. I haven't seen you in a while. You know what? Something else that I heard. Larry's here too. Hey, Larry. He's probably gone by now because he's got to get back to work. I heard Stuart was in the house earlier on. Is that right, Stuart? I'm sorry I didn't say hi earlier. I'm glad you're here. You do butterfly wings, I'm sure. We've got to chat sometime and get caught up. Okay, I'm going to have to pull the plug here because I've got to go do the thingamajig, the competition. If you turned one in, you might win. If you pay my kids enough. All right, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Take care. Stay